So a lot of people might ask, should I carry my gun open or should I carry concealed? Now, certain state restrictions might require you to get a permit or to have permission on certain properties to do these things. But all that aside, tactically speaking and legally speaking, what do you think is best?
Carry concealed if that's legal in your state. If it's not, but open is, then you need to consider carrying open, of course. If your state, such as Arizona, has no permit requirement, get it nevertheless, because it gives you reciprocity with any number of, probably 3 dozen states or whatever it is right now. So you can carry legally in all of those states. It's far better. You also get the training in what your state law permits and what it doesn't permit, so it's good for that reason. Tactically speaking, avoid open carry at all cost. Philosophically, I'm all in favor of open carry. Tactically, never.
That makes a lot of sense. And how I relate that is when I go to the grocery store, I carry concealed. But when I want cereal off the top shelf, I still make sure my shirt covers and I grab with my non-dominant side so my dominant can protect and not show anybody who might become uncomfortable or misinterpret, just because there's a slew of problems that can come from just the presence of your firearm being injected to a situation. So not just carry concealed, but kind of keep quiet about it as well.
Absolutely. The whole gray man concept, I think, is really something to be considered for all serious users of firearm.
I think that's perfect. I think I was at Costco the other day and somebody saw my shirt and a little bit of bulge on my hip and they swung by and they said, he's one of the good guys who's talking to his son. It was very cool because we're connecting on a level of the community. And while that community is so big here, I mean, I go to the grocery store and I see where you put your kid in the grocery bag and they got a little backpack in there and I know what's in the backpack, but it's cool that they're keeping it quiet because I don't think anybody's doing any favors with a Ruger 1022 on your back going to Walmart. I don't think that's doing the 2A community any favors.
No, I totally agree. I think we need to be polite, respectful, and teach people that we can teach, but certainly we need to be low key. You don't want to frighten the horses. That kind of defeats the purpose of living your life really and defending yourself. And I think the sort of in-your-face supposed Second Amendment statements, unfortunately, are things that the anti-gun community will use against all of us, and I don't think it does anybody any favors for that reason. Plus, you could get the police called on you, and there are ways to charge you as far as, even if you are otherwise carrying legally, you're also subject to a lot of easy false accusations. If people know you're armed, they can say you pointed it at them. And then you say, no, I didn't. And they say, yes, you did. And then you get a ride to the Crowbar Hotel. And then we get to talk to someone else to see if you can get out of the Crowbar Hotel. And you may or may not.
So for those of us who are out there doing a lot of training, becoming proficient with the weapons we carry, we have to ask ourselves, if this is found, if somebody's scrolling through my Instagram and they see me training on the range and doing very proficient things with firearms, could that be used against me in a courtroom?
Short answer, yes. However, people like me, we are planning to use it in your favor. And I can say it this way. It's certainly much easier to defend someone who is competent and has the training than the ones who don't. Incompetence and lack of training is more likely to land you in legal hot water than competence with a firearm. And obviously to become competent, you need to train. I also think that anytime you can bring in, say, a trainer as the expert witness to explain to a jury why you did what you did and why you acted in that way, then for the jury to draw the conclusion of whether that was reasonable. And even an expert can give his or her opinion on whether the person acted reasonably at that point. So I've talked out of all sides of my mouth now, but yes, get training. Will it be used against you? Yes, probably, but we will use it to your greatest advantage.
That makes a lot of sense. So when you look at one of my videos, you might see me drawing very quickly and somebody say, well, he's preparing to hurt somebody. But then for somebody else to come in and say, no, he's safely deploying his weapon. He's learning to be proficient and accurate so that he can protect himself from scenarios just like that. Now, we go extreme and we get guys cussing at their target and throwing knives at it and all this other silly stuff. That's probably going to be not in their favor.
Yeah, obviously, anything, I guess everything in moderation, so to speak. But there is obviously tension between fighting someone for your life and sort of a mild courtroom demeanor where we explain to a jury of people who probably will not know much about this area before the trial starts. You literally have to start and consider that the jury hopefully will be fair, but they will not come in with a ton of knowledge about what the topic is. So you're going to teach newbies. The dilemma is when you have to act aggressively, which it is to shoot someone, you have to be able to explain why you did that. And so being silly or stupid or overly sort of operator, like we act as if we are like the tip of the spear or whatever on the shooting range, is probably not the wisest thing to do. But at the same time, I've trained with different people and for different reasons. So there may be a reason for that method. So get competent training first and foremost, and then the trainer can explain that. But I think Rob's points are well taken. Maybe some of the sort of super ninja type stuff should be kept at a minimum.
Train for what's likely to happen.
Exactly.
Makes sense. So now that I'm wrapping up my thoughts into what's going to happen after the fight, and I'm now before my fight planning this out, it's up to me now to commit time into the things that I find, or you find, most beneficial for my fight, my emergency. So what's the most beneficial thing I can be training on now to avoid or succeed in that scenario?
Probably to go back to the beginning, you have to have the mindset. You have to have the willingness to fight to defend yourself, number one. I think number two, situational awareness so that you know when to fight and when to leave is number two. And then number three, and this is not necessarily in a particular order after you have all those three, but the third point is to have the ability to fight. Right? And the higher the skill level, the better. I would say that once you start training, you should train all the way as if you're going to fight the top 1% of bad people. If you have that level skill, everybody else will be a piece of cake. You may probably avoid having to fight altogether if you are good enough to take on, in essence, anyone. And obviously, I know that, what does that even mean? Like, if we have the bad guy equivalent of Rob Latham out there and they have the draw on me, am I going to be able to catch up? Maybe, maybe not, but your goal should be that high. You need to think about defending yourself against the baddest dude that's running loose on the streets where you live. You can do that with the proper training, the proper equipment, the proper mindset, and the proper awareness.
So first is seeing the situation coming, then is physically, mentally, more mentally being prepared to handle that situation, and then having the skills to actually handle that situation, probably even in that order. And then to take what you said and go just a step further is that one guy could be those two guys, those three guys, and it could be that they have the draw on you and maybe they've got the better weapon than you. So you're competing against yourself constantly, and the day you say you're good enough, you kind of have it coming. You should always train, you should always get better.
Exactly. The training never stops. I learn new things every day. On this topic, I learn them from you, I learn them from other people, I learn them from my own training on the range alone. I learn something new all the time and try to do everything better all the time, so that ultimately I would hope that I am a better gun carrier now and a more proficient practitioner of it than I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Hopefully we all gain something from this, and with this new knowledge that we're carrying with us with our CCW and our full magazine, that hopefully we can avoid it altogether and stay out of trouble. But better than that is the three pillars you made, and that's having the awareness to avoid it in the first place, then having the headspace of I'm not your victim, and then lastly, actually putting rubber to the road and making it happen if you need to.
That's exactly it. You summed it up perfectly.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to educate us. And as an educator every single day on the range, teaching people how to be faster on their draw, I think you've educated me and the community on a headspace that can prevent a lot of bad trouble in the future. So if you're interested in doing that, one of those pillars, which is the headspace and the abilities, that you can find me at Emergency Response Tactical, and that's ertactical.com. And Magnus, how can we find you?
Call me at area code 480-766-2256, and I'd be glad to chat with you.
If you have his info saved in your phone now, I always recommend to my clients to shoot him a text. This way he can save your information. And then when you do call at 3 a.m., he'll actually answer his phone. Because if you call me at 3 a.m., I'm not picking up.
Yeah, please reach out to me ahead of time so I can meet you and we can figure out a plan.